Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into how science defines the things we do every single day, using some incredibly simple yet totally mind-blowing ideas. We're going to uncover the secret rules behind how things push, pull, move, and zoom around our world. We'll be breaking down huge concepts like work and energy so simply that literally a first grader could master them. So, let's get started.
Okay, let's dive right into this with a question I think we can all relate to. Imagine you walk up to a giant, incredibly heavy brick wall. You push it with absolutely all your might. You push all morning, you push all afternoon. By the end of the day, you're sweating, your muscles ache, and you are just super tired. According to science, did you actually do any work? Think about it for a second.
Well, here is the surprising scientific truth. Because that wall didn't move, not even a single inch, absolutely zero work was done. It doesn't matter how exhausted you feel or how much your muscles are aching. In the eyes of science, no movement means no work. No way around it. Let's break down exactly why that is, keeping it super simple. In science, for you to actually do work, two very specific things gotta happen. First, you have to apply a force, which is really just a fancy word for a push or a pull. Second, the object has to actually move, and it has to move in the exact same direction that you're pushing or pulling. So, if you push a toy car forward and it rolls forward, congratulations, you did work. But if you push forward and it doesn't move, yep, zero work. And you know, this brilliantly illustrates another slightly tricky part of the rule. When you carry a heavy box horizontally across a room, you're actually not doing any work on the box. Sounds crazy, right? But here's why. Your hands are applying an upward force to keep the box from falling, but you're moving sideways. Up is definitely not the same direction as sideways. Because the push and the movement don't match directions, science says zero work. All right, moving on to section 1, energy in motion. So, if work is all about pushing things and making them move, that brings us to our next big question. Where does the power to do all this work actually come from? Imagine a bicycle zooming down the street, or think about a professional cricket match. In one of the fastest deliveries ever recorded, a bowler threw a cricket ball at over 150 kilometers per hour. That is incredibly fast. When a ball is flying at that speed, it has the power to knock over those heavy wooden wickets. But what exactly do we call the energy inside things that are actively zooming around?
We call it kinetic energy. Honestly, you can just think of it as moving energy. The rule is super simple. If something is moving, it has kinetic energy. A rolling ball, a running dog, a spinning ceiling fan. If it's in motion, it has this zooming energy. And the faster it goes, or the heavier it is, the more kinetic energy it has to do work. Now, think about a car. A car is heavy, right? So to get it moving and give it all that kinetic energy, it needs a serious power source. In this case, it comes from the chemical energy in the fuel. And here's a super fun fact. If a driver presses the gas pedal and makes the car go exactly twice as fast, its moving energy doesn't just double. Actually, scratch that. It becomes 4 times bigger. That's exactly why fast-moving things carry so much power.
Next up, section 2, stored energy. But hey, what about things that aren't moving yet? Can an object have power even if it's sitting perfectly still? Here's a great little puzzle for you to chew on. Think about a stretched rubber band, or a slingshot that's pulled all the way back. It doesn't have an engine, it isn't fueled by gasoline. While you're holding it back, it isn't moving at all. Yet the very moment you let go, it has the power to shoot a pebble completely across the yard. Where is that energy coming from? It comes from potential energy. This is, quite simply, stored up energy that's just patiently waiting to be used. When you pull that slingshot back, your muscles do work to stretch the rubber band, and that work gets stored right inside the band as potential energy. Another great example? Imagine a big 1.5 kilogram coconut hanging near the top of a 10-meter tall tree. It isn't moving, but because it's up so high, it has a ton of stored potential energy just waiting for the exact moment it snaps off the branch and falls. Let's actually practice spotting this. When kids are playing on a playground slide, based on what we just learned about that coconut in the tree, can you spot who has the most potential energy? It's the kids standing all the way up at the very top. Because they're the highest off the ground, gravity is giving them the most stored energy. Once they sit on that slide and let go, all that stored energy is going to instantly turn into moving energy. Which brings us to section 3, the energy rule. And that transformation, going from just waiting to actively moving, that leads us to literally one of the most important rules in the entire universe. Science tells us a magical rule. Energy is never actually created out of thin air, and it's never destroyed. It just changes costumes. Think about water at the very top of a tall waterfall. At the top, it's full of potential energy, waiting energy. As it pours over the edge and falls faster and faster, that potential energy magically transforms into kinetic energy, zooming energy. We even use this moving water to spin giant wheels and make electricity for our homes. So the crucial point here is this. If you take an object's waiting energy, its potential, and add it to its moving energy, its kinetic, you get what we call mechanical energy. And this total sum, it stays perfectly balanced. If a ball rolls down a hill, its potential energy goes down because it's getting lower, but its kinetic energy goes up because it's getting faster. The total mechanical energy stays exactly the same.
All right, on to section 4, simple machines help us.
Now, you might be wondering, how do we humans actually use these energy rules in everyday life? Well, we build machines to make our hardest chores feel super easy. Let's see how this fits in. If you have to lift a tremendously heavy box up to a second-floor window, you might use a rope and a wheel, a pulley. By using this machine, it suddenly feels a whole lot easier to lift. But here is the big question. Did the machine magically let us cheat science? Did it actually reduce the total amount of work we have to do? The answer to that is a loud, definitive no. There's absolutely no way to cheat the rules of energy. Machines don't reduce the total work, they just change how we do the work. A fixed pulley is a perfect example. Instead of using your muscles to push a heavy box straight up into the air, which is really, really hard, the pulley lets you grab a rope and pull down using your own body weight. The total energy used is exactly the same, but changing the direction makes it feel much, much easier for us.
And we use other simple machines every single day, honestly, without even realizing it. Take levers, for example. We use sticks and pivot points to spread out our effort all the time. A Class 1 lever puts the pivot right in the middle, like a pair of scissors cutting paper. A Class 2 lever puts the heavy load in the middle, like a wheelbarrow helping you carry a giant pile of dirt in the garden. And a Class 3 lever puts your effort in the middle, like tweezers pulling out a tiny splinter. They all use the rules of force and distance to make our lives incredibly convenient.
To wrap things up today, I want to leave you with one final, kind of provocative puzzle to test your new knowledge. We know for sure that energy cannot be destroyed, it only changes costumes. So think about that car from earlier. It's zooming down the road, completely full of kinetic energy. Suddenly, a dog runs out, and the driver slams on the brakes. The car screeches to a complete stop. Its kinetic energy is now 0. But wait, energy can't just disappear. So where did all that zooming energy go? Think about the blazing heat on the brake pads and that loud screeching sound of the tires. That moving energy simply transformed into heat and sound. The universe's energy stays perfectly balanced. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope you never look at a playground slide or a simple pair of scissors the exact same way again.